So even though Apple just finished their M2 lineup with the introduction of the new M2 15-inch MacBook Air, as well as the M2 Ultra, Mac Studio, and Mac Pro, we're already focused on what's next, and that is the M3 generation. And this is one that I think a lot of you guys should be excited for, whether or not you're planning on upgrading your MacBook. Because the M3 chip is not just another iteration. The M2 is an iteration of the M1, which is expanded from the A14. So it's a chip that has been around for a little while, but the M3 is going to be based on TSMC's new 3nm node. And this could have a ton of benefits. TSMC's website claims that their new M3 node can offer up to 70% logic density gain, up to 15% speed improvement at the same power, and up to 30% power reduction at the same speed. So to break that down, this new node is a smaller process, which means increased density, smaller chips, and less heat output. And on TSMC's baseline level, that means you either keep your power consumption the same and increase your performance, or you decrease your power consumption to maintain that same performance. Now, we're not gonna have to wait all that long to find out what improvements this will bring, because the A17 Bionic chip coming in the iPhone 15 Pro is expected to be on this new node. And in fact, that core is going to be the basis for all of Apple Silicon's implementations. Everything from your Apple Watch to the most expensive Mac Pro you can buy, they all use the same basic performance and efficiency cores, just in different configurations. So when a supposed Geekbench multi-core score leaked for the A17 Bionic, and we see that the score has gone to 7666 from a pretty commonly held 6365 on the A16 Bionic, it might not seem like a massive difference. But that's a 20% gain in performance, which is more than the 15% that TSMC quoted. So this could be pretty exciting, because the baseline figures quoted by TSMC are without considering a redesigned core architecture that Apple is likely to implement. As I mentioned before, even the M2 Ultra chips, the most powerful ones that we have now, are fundamentally based on the A14. So it's pretty obvious that Apple has been hard at work on this new chip and this new core structure, and we really don't know that much about it. There's plenty of leaks out there about the new chips, but we don't know what changes have been made on the inside. But the biggest thing that we're likely to see is an increase in the number of cores without thermal penalties. When we moved from the M1 Pro to the M2 Pro, the chip size actually physically grew. You're just adding more physical cores. But in the case of this new node, you can compensate for additional cores by increasing the transistor density. So it's no surprise that in the latest Power On newsletter, Mark Gurman is reporting that the M3 Pro is going to jump up to 12 or 14 CPU cores. And curiously, he's also reporting the M3 Max for the first time featuring a higher CPU count than the Pro. And then in the Ultra, that's 32 CPU cores, with 24 of those being high performance. That's the same number of high performance cores as there are current total cores in the M2 Ultra. And it's not just more cores, it's faster cores as well. Theoretically, if the Geekbench numbers are to be used as a baseline, as much as 20% faster cores, in addition to there being more of them. So what does that mean? Well, if you can get your cores 20% faster and then have 50% more performance cores, well, I don't need to do the math for you, but that's ridiculous. But weirdly enough, I think the most interesting part from that report is the M3 Max. Having 12 performance cores in a laptop is going to be ridiculous. Now, it's already true that most people are going to be more than fine with a regular M2 Max, and they don't need an M2 Ultra or let alone the crazy Mac Pro that I bought. But with those kinds of performance figures, the M3 Max seems like the be-all, end-all. That is an absolute sweet spot in performance per watt, as well as price point. And I think this is a pretty direct response to Intel's latest chip offerings, because their laptop CPUs have gone absolutely bananas. Now, whether that's better is up to you to decide, They do consume like 200 watts of power and run very hot, but it's undeniable fact that they are faster in many applications than what Apple has to offer. So bumping those core counts up for the Max chip could help Apple stay more competitive while still retaining the advantages of Apple Silicon's light, cool, and very energy efficient design. As for the timing for all of this, well, the CCRP is saying that October of this year could see the launch of the regular M3 chip, with the Pro and Max coming sometime in 2024. And that would put the M3 Ultra probably at the end of next year at the earliest. Now, of course, that timeline depends entirely on TSMC's ability to ramp up production of this new node. Currently, yields are at about 55% as they're struggling to keep up with the demand and fill orders for this completely new fabrication process. But the iPhone 15 Pro is probably making up the majority of those orders at the moment. Apple has to start on the low end, work up to the M3, then the M3 Pro and Max, and then the Ultra. And I think taking about a year to a year and a half for that is well within what we should expect. So 2024 is definitely shaping up to be an exciting year for the Mac. I mean, honestly, it's been exciting years for the Mac for a couple years now. We're finally getting some real innovation here, and Apple's current lineup is the best that they've ever had, in my opinion. And that actually brings up an interesting point, because if you do have one of the many fantastic Apple Silicon devices, you might be wondering whether or not it's going to be worth it to upgrade. Now, of course, I don't think you should make any purchasing decisions based on rumors. That is, unless you're trying to buy an iPhone in August, in which case, stop it. You get some help. But it is important to keep in mind that as incredible as these rumors sound for the next generation of chip, the current generation is still really, really good, and honestly, more than most people need. Believe me, I know tons of people who have bought 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros just for the screen alone. They don't care what chip is in them. However, if you are someone who bought one of the M1 Max at launch, that's about 3 years ago, maybe you're thinking about an upgrade. Well, the M3 Mac timing of October of this year doesn't seem coincidental to me. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. So all in all, I am very, very excited for the new generation M3 Apple Silicon Macs. I think that this new 3nm process is probably going to blow our minds to a fair degree. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. And if you want to find coverage of it, well, you're already there, buddy. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like down below. Let me know what you're most excited for, and I will see you in the next video.